Find other great podcasts like this one at Podmoth.Network.
Are you tired of this reality? Us too. How about once a week you take a break and visit a different reality? In Jack Billings Presents Haunted Apartment Complex, we bring you a comedy podcast full of ghosts, werewolves, gentle vampires, and Frankenstein monstrosities made of 72 people stitched together. And somehow, that's not even the strange stuff. A proud member of the Podmoth Network. Every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. There's nothing wrong with your audio. I've been a ghost this whole time. Shyamalan twist.
If tales of ghostly hauntings, Bigfoot encounters, extraterrestrial interactions, and cosmic awakenings are your cup of tea, then join me, Eric Szilagyi, host of Uncomfortable Podcast, every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Make Uncomfortable your home for the topics that reside on the fringe of our reality. Eyewitnesses, researchers, and experiencers join me on a weekly basis to delve into their paranormal and otherworldly experiences. Heard in over 65 countries worldwide, follow Uncomfortable Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your casts. Uncomfortable is now presented in video form on YouTube as well. So, as always, my friends, stay uncomfortable.
Welcome to the Brutal, Bizarre, and Boozy podcast. I'm Declan, the son.
And I'm Jane, the mom. This is the podcast where we talk about brutal crimes, bizarre occurrences, and get you drunk with cocktails themed around one of our stories. To lighten things up, we'd like to end our time with a chaser. Please keep in mind some of our stories might be upsetting to young or sensitive ears.
We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to contact us by email or social media. You can find our contact info in the show notes for this episode. If you'd like to support us through Patreon, you can find us there at Brutal, Bizarre, and Boozy Podcast, or use the link in our show notes.
I'm up this time. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Brutal, Bizarre, and Boozy. Declan's laughing because I said shit before I hit go.
Well, I just got to remember to cut that part out.
Why? It's funny.
Because the very first thing that the waveform picked up was phlegmy.
Oh, yes. It was phlegmy last recording. Anyway, Declan, what story do you have for us today?
Let me get it pulled up. Charles Albanese. I'm going to assume that's how you pronounce it. Albanese? Albanese? Looks like an Italian name.
How do you
I'll
spell
go Albanese. Albanese. Albanese?
Okay. Albanese? Oh, I don't know. Good question.
Oh, it could be Albanese. I don't know. It's an older story, and the only pronunciation I could find was like weird AI videos of it, and it didn't sound right to me. So
yeah.
Anyways,
Definitely.
What's your story, Mom?
My story is about a father that went above and beyond in his quest to get justice for his teenage daughter. And it crossed
That sounds great.
country lines and jurisdictions and some weird stuff. This is an older case.
Okay.
This is from France. Well, Europe, because France, Germany, stuff happened in Morocco, you name it.
Okay, not the one I'm thinking of then. Okay.
And to go with this drink, I brought the father figure cocktail. And in all honesty, I reverse engineered this because I found this drink and I was like, I gotta try that. What stories can I find involving fathers? And I found this one and said, this is a great story and we're going to tell it. So the father figure cocktail is 2 ounces of bourbon, 1 ounce of black cherry juice, half an ounce of brown sugar simple syrup, 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. The steps are to stir ingredients over ice and then strain into a rocks glass. And if you like, you can garnish with a cherry, or you can just not garnish it and drink the damn thing. Are you ready?
Let's give it a try.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
This is going to be delicious. I already can tell.
Yeah.
Yep. Delicious. Knew it would be.
I can get behind that.
Yes. It's very similar to the cherry sour, which I don't know if I don't know that we've done it on this show, but I found it last summer and fell in love with it.
You made it for me once.
I believe I have, because I was hooked on it for
Maybe
a long
4th
time.
of July. I can't remember.
Could be. Last year I was using fresh cherries, and we busted out the juicer and made fresh cherry juice, and it's phenomenal with fresh cherry juice. But I found a jar of black cherry juice at the grocery store, and I think this is about as close as I've come to making the cherry sour with a canned juice. Normally it doesn't taste right, but this is pretty close. Not that this is a cherry sour, but it's almost identical. I think the difference is in the cherry sour, it uses lemon juice and simple syrup together, and cherry juice and bourbon. So
careful with some of those cherry juices at the store. Some of them are toxically
gross.
Sour.
Yeah, I know. I got one. Well, actually, I got one that said it was tart cherry juice, and it tasted like watered down Kool-Aid. It was awful. It tasted so gross. Didn't taste like cherries at all.
My coworker likes it, and she just put some in a cup and didn't tell everybody what it was, and just had us try it. I can feel it in my jaw.
Pucker you?
It goes.
Yeah.
It's like getting electric shock in your mouth. It's like crazy strong.
I actually like sour shit like that.
Me too, but this was like too much.
It was too much,
It was like kind of bitter as well. So it was sour bitter. It was like, tastes like something you shouldn't be ingesting.
Well, I think this is pretty tasty. I would say that the cherry sour, I think I like it a little bit more, maybe because it doesn't have the bitters in it. I'm going to have to try to make this without the bitters. But it's delicious. I like it. I highly recommend it. This is definitely a drink that I'm going to finish. So I will try and hold off finishing it so that I can make it through the story and I don't stumble on my words, because like I said, this is a European story, and so the names are not Smith and Jones, and okay. I don't want to trip up too much, but let's get started. We're going to start with the father of our story. His name is André Bamberski. André was born in 1937. His parents were Polish Catholics who moved to France in the early 1930s, but André's early years were spent living with his grandparents in Poland. When the Nazis invaded Poland in 1939, he was there, and it took several years for him to be reunited with his parents in northern France. Because remember, this is all at the start of World War II and the Nazi invasion and control and all of that. So bad stuff went down, and he got stuck without his parents for a while. But he was reunited with them, and he grew up in France, eventually becoming an accountant. André met Danielle Gonin, and the couple were married. They later had 2 children, Kalinka and Nicholas. By the mid-1970s, André and his family were living in Morocco, and the kids were attending an international school that several of their neighbors also attended. Another family that lived on the same street was the family of Dr. Dieter Krombach. Krombach was born in Germany in 1935, so about the same age as André, just a couple years older. He was an internal medicine doctor working for the German consulate in Morocco when his children were attending the international school, and the two families lived on the same street near each other. What André didn't know was that Krombach was having an affair with André's wife, Danielle. And André and his family later moved back to France. But in 1975, he was surprised when his wife suddenly told him she had taken a job several hours away in Nice, France, which was like 350 miles away. And so he was like, well, this is new. Her plan was to rent an apartment in Nice to live during the week, and then she would come home on the weekends. Shocked by this development, André asked where she would be working, and she refused to tell him, which is a big red flag when your spouse suddenly says, I'm going to be gone all week and I'm not going to tell you where. Of course, this made him rather suspicious, so he decided to follow her. Rather than driving hours to Nice, where she was supposedly working, she drove in the opposite direction to a different town that was about 20 minutes away, not several hours away. And she was there for a whole week, staying in an apartment building. André asked the doorman to the apartment building about Danielle, and he explained, oh, yes, I know her. That's the wife of Dr. Krombach. Big shock to André.
Yeah.
And so this couple was soon divorced. André got custody of the children, Kalinka and Nicholas. Danielle moved to Bavaria with Krombach, and the couple were married about 2 years later. In 1980, André decided to move back to Morocco, and he brought the children with him. But his ex-wife did not like that, and she wanted to get custody back for herself. At the advice of his attorney, André returned to France with the children. They moved in with their mom and stepdad, and shortly thereafter, they moved to Germany. For nearly 2 years, Kalinka and Nicholas lived with their mother, Danielle, and stepfather, Krombach. André had no idea what kind of person his wife had married, other than the fact that the guy was an adulterer, because when they lived next to each other, he was married and had kids, and now he's sleeping with André's wife. And so,
scumbag in general.
Yeah, not a great guy. The surprise really hit André in 1982 when he got a call from Danielle telling him that Kalinka had died overnight. Surprise is an understatement, though, because Kalinka was 14 years old and, by all accounts, a healthy, active teenager. She had no known medical conditions that could have caused her to suddenly die. According to Danielle and Krombach, Kalinka had come home from the lake the evening before, and she was telling everyone that she wasn't feeling well. By the next morning, she had passed away. Krombach originally suggested that perhaps she had died from heat stroke since she had spent the previous day at the lake, or he thought that perhaps she had died as a result of a car accident that she had previously been in. There's a big problem with the car accident theory, though, because the car accident had happened 8 years prior.
Oh, I was going to say, there's like some weird circumstances where you could get like a brain bleed or something and not know it, but 8 years.
Sure.
You're fine.
8 years. Yeah, I think that's enough time to figure out whether or not you've got a brain bleed or some other nefarious thing happening. So, of course, that was a bullshit explanation. André was, of course, stunned and saddened by the sudden loss of his daughter, but he was not suspicious at the time. But that didn't last very long, because a few months later, he received a copy of the medical examiner's report. He was looking for answers and was shocked by what he read. The first surprise was the presence of Krombach at the autopsy. Although he was a medical doctor, he was more importantly Kalinka's stepfather and the last noted person to see her alive. So there's no reason he should have been at the autopsy. Not just identifying her and making statements to the police, that's normal. He should not have been at the autopsy, but he was. He did make some statements about the circumstances that were included in the medical examiner's report. The medical examiner noted the presence of injection sites on Kalinka's body. She had puncture marks. And of course, there's a question, why does this 14-year-old have puncture marks all over her body? Krombach admitted that he had injected Kalinka before dinner the night before with a cobalt iron solution. But the reason for doing this strangely changed as he told the story repeatedly.
Fuck is cobalt iron? Cobalt and iron?
Yes, cobalt and iron. Iron is a treatment for anemia, but
I've never heard anyone being deficient in cobalt.
Right. The presence of cobalt in the solution is unusual and is not a medical therapeutic treatment for anything.
Isn't cobalt toxic?
I don't know. But it was a questionable thing that people were like, what the fuck was that in there for? And so it's not a standard practice. Cobalt injections are not a standard practice of anything. But the story about why he gave her that injection, originally he said he gave her the injection to help her tan easier. Because, when you go to the lake in the 80s, you want to get a good tan. You want to get your tan on. That doesn't work. You don't inject yourself with iron to tan easier, let alone cobalt and iron. Then later he said he gave it to her because she was anemic and he was trying to treat her anemia. But bottom line, cobalt and iron together are not a treatment for anything.
Google says cobalt can poison you, so.
Well,
this says the main ways are breathe it in or prolonged contact with skin, but I'm assuming if it's direct to the bloodstream, it's probably more toxic.
Right. Kalinka had multiple injection sites, though, not just the one for the cobalt iron solution. And so the explanation that he gave for that was that when he found her deceased, he tried to revive her by injecting her with multiple central nervous system stimulants. So he's injecting her repeatedly, trying to revive her.
He's freebasing.
But rigor mortis had already set in. She was rigid. And he's injecting a rigid, dead body. So, of course, his attempts to revive her were unsuccessful. The autopsy also noted some tearing of her genitals and the presence of a white substance inside of her.
I thought yours was supposed to be bizarre.
Nope. Brutal. Although this does take a bizarre turn. So it technically could be both.
God,
it could be both.
Story already.
Yeah. Well, you'll like it. You'll like it in the end.
Okay.
There was no comment about the white substance in the genitals in the report other than it being noted that there was this white substance. There was no note of it being tested for what it was. Food was found in Kalinka's lungs, pointing to her time of death having occurred not long after she had eaten dinner. But the conclusion of the autopsy was that she died around 3 or 4 in the morning of an unknown cause. To the German authorities, the case was closed, and they just ruled it as a strange death. Unknown reason. She died. The end. André wanted answers, but there didn't appear to be any. And now, with the conclusion of the autopsy and closure of the case, it appeared there wouldn't be any. But André didn't want to take that for an answer. He now suspected that Krombach was to blame for Kalinka's death. It became what some considered to be an obsession for him. He not only wanted answers, but he wanted the person responsible to pay. Because Kalinka was a French citizen, André was able to get French prosecutors to look further into the case. In 1995, 13 years after she passed away, France conducted a trial against Krombach and convicted him in absentia for Kalinka's death. However, that conviction was later overturned by a higher court, and Krombach remained free. Basically, the higher court said he didn't get a chance to defend himself, so we're throwing it out.
Okay.
Yeah. Over the next few years, Krombach's life started to receive some scrutiny. It was learned that his first wife had died suddenly at the age of 24. In hindsight, her death was considered suspicious, and her family believed Krombach was to blame. I didn't really go into it because this was a long story anyway, and it really didn't play any bearing on the outcome. But there was some information that I found that his first wife had suddenly come down with this mysterious illness, and he injected her with something, and then poof, she died.
That's weird.
So her family was like, yeah, he freaking killed her, but we can't prove it. And he's just not a good guy.
Yeah,
but
like
there's some real evidence about him being a not good guy and being a horrible human being. It was also discovered that for years, Krombach had been injecting his female patients, many of them teenagers, with sedatives for the purpose of raping them. The discovery led to him losing his medical license in 1997, 15 years after Kalinka's death. He was charged criminally for the rape of one of the teenagers, but due to his standing in the community and lack of a criminal record in Germany, his 2-year criminal sentence was suspended. He did lose his license to practice medicine, though. However, he didn't care about that. He had made a copy of his medical license, so he used that to get work at over 30 clinics, about 30 clinics, across multiple towns in Germany as a fill-in doctor. So he had no legal medical license, but he just said, oh yeah, my medical license got stolen. I do have this copy. And they were like, cool, bro, come on in.
You just need a photocopy. They don't check anything or read the newspapers. Nope. Okay.
They didn't.
You said this was in the 90s?
80s and 90s.
Okay, probably wouldn't have a database and stuff like that at that point. So
not that you could search easily. No.
Okay.
Around 2006, Krombach was arrested for practicing medicine without a license. He was evaluated by psychiatrists before his trial, and they labeled him as a chronic liar, sexual predator, and a narcissist with delusions of grandeur.
They didn't tack on murderer to that?
Nope. Okay. They noted that he was a compulsive serial offender who molested patients and coworkers, often by injecting them with sedatives. Krombach was sentenced to 2 years in prison for this. Granted, this sentence is for practicing medicine without a license, not for all the rape and malpractice and all the shit that he did. This was just because he was practicing medicine without a license. And he served 18 months. He was released in 2008. Throughout all of this, André was watching and tracking Krombach's movements. Over the decades, André tried to get the French and German governments to work together towards prosecuting Krombach for Kalinka's death. Because remember, okay. France was interested. They wanted to get some resolution for Kalinka's death, but Germany had long since closed the case and they were not interested in reopening it. They were like, no, it was just an unusual death. She just died. That's it. André was outspoken about Krombach being a predator, and he had a network of people who believed in his case of seeking justice for Kalinka. It was likely through this network that a man named Anton heard of André and the situation. The men met up and came up with a plan. They would make sure that Krombach was delivered to France, because at this time he's living in Germany and he's not going anywhere near France. So in mid-October 2009, the police in an eastern French town were notified of a man who'd been beaten, tied up, and gagged near a customs office. That man was Krombach, and he had been kidnapped from his home in Germany, driven into France, and basically laid out for the police to arrest. They were like, here's your predator. He's yours now.
Okay.
Krombach was finally in a place for the French authorities to take action, and they did. He was arrested and sent to trial for Kalinka's death. The process was not swift. It took over 2 years to resolve. By this point, nearly 30 years had passed, and Krombach was in his 70s with some health concerns, but he was eventually cleared medically to continue with the trial. Evidence brought up in trial included a more recent autopsy of Kalinka's remains, but not all of her body was found in the burial. Her genitals with that mysterious white substance were missing. They had been removed, and nobody knows where they ended up.
I don't like.
No.
Oh, God, that's disgusting.
I know, it's awful.
That's so disgusting.
It is.
Why?
Yeah. They did contact. They contacted all the labs that did the tests on her originally, and there was no record of where that body part ended up. There was no testing done to it, but thankfully there was the note of it in the original autopsy so that they could at least go, well, that's weird. And now that part of her body is missing. Yeah. New evidence was found as well that Kalinka had been sedated with benzodiazepine, and paired with the notation of the genital tears from the first autopsy, and as well as Krombach's well-documented history of drugging women to rape them, led to the conclusion that Krombach likely drugged Kalinka to rape her, and then she died soon after that. After hearing all of the evidence about Krombach, his previous crimes, the inconsistencies with the autopsies, and the stories regarding Kalinka's death, he was convicted of voluntary violence leading to unintentional death with aggravated circumstances, which they didn't really. There was no comment of the potential of any kind of rape or sex abuse or anything, but just dealing with the death was what they could do. And his sentence was 15 years. He did appeal it, of course, and they were all denied. Krombach was released from prison for health reasons in 2020, and he passed away a few months later.
You said this was France?
Yes.
I think they
he was
might have gotten hit pretty hard by COVID, so they're probably like, he's not going to last long on the outside anyways. Let him go.
Right. You might be wondering if there were any consequences regarding his kidnapping. André was arrested and tried regarding the kidnapping, which he confessed to, but he said, he didn't kidnap him. He didn't physically touch the guy. He just
orchestrated it.
Orchestrated a little bit. He just, okay. He was like, I knew it was going to happen. He was given a 1-year suspended sentence.
Okay.
And
That's good.
the Anton, the guy who actually was one of the physical kidnappers, I saw a documentary about this. He did have to spend some time in prison, but he was not at all like, he did not have any regrets over having participated in the kidnapping and getting this guy to justice. He was like, yeah, had to do a year in jail.
Oh, I thought suspended. I thought that meant if he was good.
The dad got a 1-year suspended sentence, so he didn't do any jail time.
okay.
But the actual kidnapper did have
Oh,
to do
I see,
some
I see.
time
Okay.
in jail. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's a good friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it was brutal for sure, but it
Yeah.
had a nice little bizarre
So
hint to
mine is a lot less brutal. And mine is more in the bizarre
Okay.
category. So
it. More
no
bizarre.
one-
Okay.
there's no any of the
No
gross nonsense
body
you talked
parts
about.
being removed.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No. This is fairly
Yeah.
innocuous
Sorry about
compared to
that,
that.
everybody.
Okay, let's talk about Charles Albanese. Charles was born on June 13th, 1937 in Chicago, Illinois to parents Michael and Clara Albanese. His father was an entrepreneur and the owner of Allied Die Casting Co. Little is known about Charles' early life other than he was a rather spoiled child. In the mid-1960s, Charles would be arrested for the first time. He and an unidentified accomplice, pretending to be detectives, broke in and robbed a bus driver, to which the neighbor was able to get Charles' license plate.
Okay.
Not long after that crime, he was indicted on multiple accounts of armed robbery and auto theft, which he received 5 years probation. This caused his wife to leave him with their 3 children.
What? Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you find out your husband's doing armed robberies, I'd probably leave too.
Okay, sure. But do you leave your 3 children there? Or did she take the kids with her?
Leave with their 3 children.
Oh,
They-
okay.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought she left the kids there. I was
No.
I get you're pissed off at your husband for being a criminal, but make
He
that
later-
situation worse.
He later married again. Not much is known about her while they were married, because he went to Vegas and married Virginia Mueller in 1972, and his second wife would then leave him a year later.
Okay.
So he was still married to his second wife and went to Vegas and married Virginia.
A third wife. Okay.
And then second wife
All right.
got divorced from him a year later. So now it's just him and his third wife.
Okay.
Charles and Virginia were happily married, and Charles moved his way up the ranks of his father's company to president, earning about $60,000 a year. In 1978,
Wow.
Charles and his new wife moved to Spring Grove and bought a house slightly out of their budget. And by July of 1980s, Charles had some serious financial problems. He was behind on his mortgage, 6 months delinquent on child support, and owed $15,000 to the bank.
Whoops.
During this time, Charles would frequently visit the home of his mother-in-law, Marion Mueller, and grandmother-in-law, Mary Lambert. So,
Okay.
mother-in-law and the mother-in-law's
Her mom.
grandmother. Yes.
Okay.
They're living together in an apartment.
Gotcha.
He would often bring them small gifts like flowers or small trinkets and have dinner or lunch with them. During these visits, he would convince his grandmother-in-law to sign all of her assets to her daughter, cutting out her other 2 children.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
After this was done, Charles made a rather interesting phone call to a friend of his that owned a metal plating company. He asked his friend, "What is the best way to get rid of some pests in your house?" The
He
friend told
probably
him,
meant mice.
Yeah, mice and rats and stuff.
Yeah.
The friend told him that he had just the solution and sold him some arsenic and taught him how much to use for rats and mice. However, this wasn't for rats. This was for his family.
Oof.
Charles would start slow but gradually ramped up the dosage. On August 6th of 1980, Marion Mueller was rushed to the hospital after severe diarrhea and intense vomiting. She died later that day.
Uh-oh.
The hospital believed she died of a heart attack. But only 12 days later, Mary Lambert was rushed to the hospital with similar conditions, died shortly after to what was chalked up to natural causes.
Okay.
This sparked fear in the community, and the health department launched a full-scale investigation into the water supply, restaurants in the area, and the sewer system in the town. But they were unable to find any cause of death for these two women. Since Mary had signed her assets over to Marion, and Virginia was Marion's daughter, all of their $150,000 worth of assets now belonged to Virginia and Charles.
Okay.
That's 2 years' salary for him, which is pretty good for the day, I bet.
Well, almost 3. Over 2.5.
2.5.
Okay.
Not long after this, Charles and his father had a meeting about his performance as the president. The two had a spat, and the meeting ended with Charles being fired. However, after a few days and an apology, Charles was hired back, but this time as treasurer instead of president. So he got a big fat demotion.
Okay, but what's the treasurer do?
Counts money.
Takes care of money.
Yeah.
Is that a good idea?
No, and you'll see why here in a little bit.
Okay.
In an act of kindness for hiring Charles back, he began to bring his father and brother, Michael Jr., some cookies and other snacks during the day.
I bet.
About 4 days after he was hired back, his brother Michael Jr. was hospitalized. And can you guess what for?
Vomiting and diarrhea.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Both experienced an uptick in hospital visits for these symptoms over the next few months until Michael Sr. eventually passed away in the hospital on May 16th, 1981.
Oh.
His death meant that Charles was to inherit $266,000, or about $950,000 today.
Oh, that's a sweet chunk of change.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Oof. I like it.
During the autopsy of Michael Sr., arsenic was discovered in his body. The coroner who conducted the autopsy... Yeah, well, thank God he did, because the coroner who conducted the autopsy called the coroner who conducted the autopsy for Marion.
Oh, good.
And asked if he could check them as well. They were exhumed, and large amounts of arsenic was discovered in their body. After this information, police pulled a background check on all of Charles' family, including him, and discovered his criminal background in both inheritances and the fact that he was sold arsenic by his friend.
Oh.
So they found
buy arsenic
all
from
of this.
somebody who knows you.
No.
Fucking hell.
During this investigation, police learned through a travel agency that Charles had planned a trip to Jamaica with his wife and mother, and they had to act fast because they were worried about Charles killing his mother, who was worth about $500,000 at the time.
Woo.
So that would probably be $1.8 million today.
Yeah. Jeez.
Police moved swiftly and arrested him at work and charged him with the 3 murders and the attempted murder of his brother. Since his father was murdered in a different jurisdiction, Charles had 2 separate trials.
Okay.
In the first trial, he was found guilty of killing both his father and Marion was killed in a different county. So in the first trial, he was tried with the death of his father and Mary, and the prosecution was looking for death penalty. They got it, and he was sentenced to the electric chair.
Woof.
On the second trial for the murder of his mother-in-law, he received another death sentence ruling and a 60-year sentence for attempted murder of his brother. So he got 2 lives and 60.
Wow.
On September 20th, 1995, Charles ate his final meal of prime rib, baked potato, garlic bread, coffee, Coke, and a pistachio ice cream, and was executed via lethal injection.
Pistachio ice cream is your final dessert?
And fucking baked potato? Like, yes, baked potatoes are fine, but they gotta be loaded. It just, I guess,
Ugh.
oh no, this is 95. Yeah, there was good food back then, I think. You could have. Well, if you think about it, if you're on death row, they're probably not making you the tip top of whatever. If you ask for salmon, it's probably cooked all the way through. So it's like maybe a baked potato is a safe option because you can't fuck up a baked potato, really.
That's true. Yeah. I'm going to eat friggin' pistachio ice cream.
Pistachio ice cream? Yeah. What would be your final dessert then?
Ooh. I think I'd go with like a pie of some kind. I'm more of a pie person than a cake person. I think I'd go with some like a triple berry pie or maybe an apple crumble, baby.
Ooh,
I don't know.
Like a berry crumble with some I'd probably go peach cobbler with ice cream.
Yeah. That's good.
It's a solid one.
I don't know. I do love a good cheesecake. Or a cream puff or a chocolate eclair, but it'd have to be really good. I don't think I would pick cream puff or chocolate eclair though, because sometimes they fill it with the wrong
store-bought
thing.
One.
Yeah, and it's gross. And you're like, that was nasty. I didn't like that.
Well, do you have a chaser for us?
I do have a chaser. And that is, I think that we have done in the past the show Shrinking on Apple. And my chaser is that the 3rd season of Shrinking is out. And by the time this episode comes out, it will have finished.
Ooh, okay.
And it's a great show all the way around. And this season is also great.
I'll have to check it out. I don't think I watched the first season.
It's really good. It's a good show. It's one of those, like, it makes you feel stuff, but then it's still really funny.
Okay.
So then you don't feel bad that you're crying because something funny is going to come next.
That's good. I like those kind of shows.
Yeah. And my absolute favorite character in the whole show is a side character, Derek. He is not one of the main characters. He should be, because he is fucking hilarious and his character is amazing. And I wish I were his friend. He's
you
so
need that
good.
Comic relief sometimes, though, in those shows like that.
Yes. He's not even like... His character isn't like a jokester or super funny or anything, but it's, I can't even explain it. He's so good. It's such a great character. So, Shrinking on Apple. What's your chaser?
My chaser is Instagram, YouTube. I think they're all under the same thing, but I found this metal artist. Or musician, I should say. I don't normally like metal that much. I mean,
I do.
Here and there, like. But anyways, it's
you were raised
music
better
kind of
than
reminds
that.
me. But this is like heavy metal, like a lot of screaming and stuff like that.
Oh,
it sounds good though.
Okay.
It reminds me of Evanescence. That's why I asked you about it earlier.
Gotcha. Okay.
That their most popular song. It reminds me of that. I haven't listened to like her music yet. I just I watch her reels and shorts, but she has a pet parrot that mimics her screams, and she'll like
No.
they do parodies of songs as well, or not parodies, but covers. But she'll do like her own song, and she'll put a mic next to the parrot, and she'll be like doing the screaming, and then the parrot will come in at perfect timing with like ad libs copying her, and it sounds like someone else is doing it, but it's just the parrot like mimicking her.
It's just the bird.
And it's super interesting to watch that this parrot has such good musical skills.
What's the account on Insta?
Reebz _UK, REEBZ_UK.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, it's very entertaining to watch.
I mean,
because it
I'm
sounds
not a huge
good.
bird fan.
If I had to
Birds
get a
and
bird,
I
it'd be
are
a parrot.
I don't know.
Well, I recently
I don't
learned
know.
parrots can live to be 60.
Yeah, they are a full lifetime investment.
Yeah, so if you get your kid a parrot, they gotta have that their entire life, almost. Like,
Here's one of my issues with birds is, and I have known people who have had birds, and maybe it's how they had cared for their bird. I don't know. But there's always a funky smell with like their cage and stuff. And not that the people I've known with birds haven't cleaned properly, but there's always that lingering like bird shit smell. And I don't want that inside my house.
Yeah, because I don't think you can use like cat litter. Like cat litter is one thing because they cover it up and it's designed to absorb
the smell,
absorb odor. Yeah, but
yeah.
I think they just put like granted, I've never met anyone that owned a bird, but I think you just put stuff down and it shits and pisses on it.
Yeah,
it doesn't like cover it like a cat does. But parrots are cool. Parrots are cool because you could talk to it, have conversations with it.
They're kind of loud and stuff and
creepy. They're also creepy.
Yeah,
Birds
I'm not a huge bird fan, but
you guys made me watch the bird horror movie Too Young. I don't like birds. Freak me out.
The birds, man, it traumatized me as a child. So I had to pass it on. That's the thing with having kids.
In the form of Alfred Hitchcock.
Is you pass along your trauma to the next generation.
Okay, I think you're supposed to break the cycle, but
well, for certain traumas, we broke the cycle, but for TV and movie traumas, hey, I'm not taking any responsibility for your movie trauma because your freaking grandparents showed you goddamn Poltergeist and Chucky when you were like 7.
Yeah,
so that's not on me.
Did a number on me, that one.
Yeah,
I was always terrified of VHS TVs after that.
Yeah, and you should be.
Or not VHS. What do they call them? The big CRT TVs.
Oh,
those freak me out. All right. Well, I think that brings us to today's episode.
Ending. Yep.
Yes.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes. Love you, Mom.
Love you, bud. Bye.
Hey, friends. Thank you for supporting our podcast. Please share our show with your brutal and bizarre friends. Give us a Boozy follow on your favorite podcast platform. If you're feeling extra generous, we'd appreciate a 5-star rating or review as well. But maybe do that sober so all the letters are in the right place.
You can find all our contact information in the show notes. We love hearing from you, and if you're interested in helping us stock the bar for our future Boozy episodes, you can find our Patreon link in the show notes as well.